I'm going to go over some of the changes since the last major update. So first of all, obviously we got this new, much better looking terrain. It is, for all purposes, infinite, bounded only by memory and hard disk space, of which it doesn't consume much. It looks more complex than it actually is, but really the sort of underlying voxel data that models the terrain is at the same resolution about as Minecraft now, with 1 meter sort of chunks of terrain, but that gets smoothed out, and textured, so it's not as easy to tell that it's so cubic, and that it's a little bit, you can kind of tell by looking, but that could even be smoothed out further visually. It's just sampling it with bilinear sampling right now, so it's not that smooth. So everything is persistent. The fluid sim, of course, works on top of this as well, that I built. Since you last saw the fluid sim, it's a bit smoother now, a little less buggy. You can go underwater, and it correctly registers, when it is actually underwater versus just being, planar based like it was originally. And the fluid, will persist just like any other damages you make across the entire scope of the terrain. Like I could, drain out this fluid and it would go on, keep moving, draining out forever. So aside from that, all the old collision stuff is back in. We've got I've got camera smoothing on right now, so it kind of jumped to that guy and sort of overdid the interpolation, so it made it look springy. So I'm going to turn off the smoothing, which is mostly used for demoing. So all the physics and collision are still in there, as simple as they are. Get some updated sound effects, some pretty simple effects like ripples in the water. The first person camera is there. Which you can attach to a person. Might have actually traveled so fast I went through some terrain there, I'm not sure. So yeah, pretty basic stuff. There's also made the explosion effect a little bit better. It's actually pretty easy to make interesting in the current shaders. This is actually just one line of code that makes that effect, just adding up some sine waves. So there's also this sort of ripple effect that gets applied, which is actually the same ripple effect that's used in the water. It's just being applied to the terrain. Even though it looks kind of weird, it's just an interesting effect to show. So right now there's not a huge view distance. That mostly has less to do with how far it's capable of rendering, and more so how quickly it can unload and how quickly it can load and unload data without sort of stalling, which is all happening within a sort of single threaded thing right now, and that can be of course optimized further. Also launch out just blobs of water. So, in addition to that, there's some stuff with all of the, get rid of this guy here. So, in addition to all that, you may have seen in prior, I added in, all sorts of stuff for putting in arbitrary geometry that's based on super ellipsoids that I showed before. So let me just place an object here. The controls for it are still a little bit awkward. And so you can set, the sort of power that's applied to the corners of the super ellipsoid box thing. And just set it to something random here. You can also cut away the object from any direction, as I'll do here. And still, there's a couple bugs. It's not perfect, but so you got this object in here. Obviously, these objects respond to fluid as well, and collision and everything else. So just trying to fill this up with a lot more fluid. There we go. Looks like there's a. Oh no, that's a bug. So it actually thinks it's leaking out the side because I placed fluid actually within the object. So let's try if that makes sense. It thought there was fluid within the wall of the object, so it was kind of leaking out the side. I think. I'm not sure what was causing that error. Or it could just be improper collision bounds, but anyhow. So you can, drain out these things as well, destroy them, apply any typical voxel destruction, and let's place a character in here just to show that the collision, this does in fact collide. So overall it's pretty powerful in terms of what you can do with it, and you can place literally millions of objects, as I've demoed elsewhere. If you look at older updates on the site, there's some examples of that. And trying to recall what else is new. Well, there's some networking stuff that I put in, but it's not really to the point of demoing yet. Just basic server client interactions, sending messages, connecting, disconnecting, so on. And I guess right here would be a good place to talk about sort of new plans. So there's still effectively the long-term plans that we've always talked about for VQ, but in the short run we're actually building a new sort of quick prototype game that will be much simpler, not quite as ambitious goals, just something aiming to kind of get out in a 6-month period or so. And the reason for focusing on a quick prototype is just to get something fun out into people's hands as fast as possible. Kind of perfectionist, in case you can't tell, so it's always been an issue of me putting something out too early, because I don't want people to have some negative reaction to it not being fun. So basically putting out a prototype that can be made fun as quickly as possible. And the problem with attempting to do that with a big open world game is it's much more difficult to make something like that fun quickly. You know, you have to add in all sorts of content and balancing and things like that in order to make it effectively fun. So basically, in the short term, we're just focusing on a really simple concept that can be implemented quickly and made fun quickly and get something into the player's hands as fast as possible. And obviously the original ship dates that I had listed are totally way off, and I apologize for that. Just I hadn't really fully considered, you know, the scope of issues I would be facing and how, you know, willing I would be to put out something that wasn't quite ready or fun. So I apologize for that, but we are trying to get something out as quickly as possible. There's no hard release dates because release dates are basically made to be missed, so to speak. So we're just trying to put out something as fast as we can and kind of loosely shooting for that 6-month target, but that's not really a hard release date. That's just, you know, sort of what we're shooting for. So for what we're doing for the sort of quick prototype, it's still sort of open to discussion. We're talking about on the forums. It's probably going to be something pretty simple. We decided, you know, like a multiplayer game like FPS or capture the flag type of thing. And, you know, admittedly, even those types of things can be complex, but this is really designed to be just sort of a bare minimum viable thing. So before I go on rambling about this stuff too much longer, I'm going to cut this video short, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I do answer pretty much every email or Twitter message or whatever that comes my way. So if you have any questions, complaints, fears, whatever, just feel free to contact me.